A huge shout out to the overthinkers.
An overthinker. He watches the show.
To the overthinkers, shout out my friend too.
All of our faith to this is Parker, yeah. Thank you, overthinkers.
Keep inspiring the next generation.
Shout out to the overthinkers. Tando Pela. Much love.
To my overthinkers, mamela ubuchopho ngeke buphume buyakhula nizinja nikhokho yazini as overthink siya overachieve.
I'm stealing that. I've stolen that one. I've stolen it.
Our coach Shorty as overthinking is here overachiever. This is what Coach Shorty has said. Welcome everybody to the Overthinking Football Show. My name is George Mokwena. I am your host, and this show, of course, is the place where we love South African football, and very little. Every now and then we drop into Europe, and I tell you what's happening that side, very little. And obviously, club football has been done, so we are going to focus a little bit on what the countries are doing before we jump headfirst into the Club World Cup next week. So, the show is on every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. If you want to watch any of the previous shows back, they are available in full on YouTube. You can go there and watch them all in full and be able to catch everything that's happening on that side and everything that you have missed. I also have my podcast and other things that I put out on my TikTok, my Facebook, my YouTube, and my Instagram. So you could please do me the favor of following all over there. There's some really great content outside of just the lives and reviews. We also have deep conversations, but I also have a podcast where I get to tell you a little bit deeper about what I'm thinking about anything that we're speaking about here. Then, of course, it's a very interactive show. Remember how it works. You will be able to jump in and tell me exactly what you're thinking about whatever it is we're talking about. And you do that by going over to TikTok, clicking the button at the bottom of your screen that says multi-guest. You click on it, I open, you come in, you tell me exactly what you're thinking about what we're speaking about today. It's going to be half and half. On one side, we're going to have a review of the two matches that Bafana Bafana has played. And I'm talking not the CASAFA team, the main team, the two friendlies that they played versus Mozambique and Tanzania. Of course, Tanzania, we drew 0-0 with them. And then, of course, in Mozambique, we beat them 2-0. So we're going to speak about those games. But I want to have a broader conversation about Bafana Bafana as a whole. You know, does the pipeline work? Should there be things that we should be doing differently? I mean, just yesterday, we saw Senegal beat England. You know, are we at the level? Are we hiding away? What is happening? So, guys, that is what I'm going to be asking you today. So please feel free to request by pressing the multi-guest button. For those watching on YouTube, remember, on TikTok, you have to be following the account. And then I will let you in and we can have a conversation about our national team and what we feel about our national team going forward, obviously going into the World Cup qualifiers later on in the year, and then, of course, the AFCON tournament. Boggs, champ, welcome.
Yes, champ.
How are you, champ?
No, I'm all good, champ. I'm all good.
Champ, Bafana Bafana, 2 games, 0-0 Tanzania, 2-0 Mozambique. How do you feel about those 2 games?
Game number 1, where they played 0-0, I was not very impressed.
Yeah.
The game was very tactical. And you know, it was new players who were getting to see new faces in the squad. So, the new faces in the squad, I don't think they put up their hand in the first game that they want to be part of the squad. Because now they are making it easy for those ones who went to the Club World Cup that they still have their spots and their spots are still safe.
Yeah. So, but Bongs, can I ask you then, when we look at this, these friendlies, right? We are seeing a lot of people getting their debuts, a lot of people getting maybe second or third chances. Is it worth it? Does it lead to anything, this thing? Because like you said, there's guys who are coming back who are going to go straight into the first team. There's other guys who are not even playing in this that are probably going to be chosen. Are these friendlies helpful in terms of squad building?
Yeah, they do help for the coach to see if some of the players that are not there, that he can still rely on his second squad to help out the first squad if the squad is not there. Because you could see in the second game that at least there were some positive moments where we saw Bomofuken try and take over and try and carry the nation.
Okay. Mara Babang, isn't this like Khanye Somayo playing friendlies for Bafana Bafana and then not making it back ever again?
Now it's like that because now they are not showing any hunger towards being part of the squad. So they need to show that they want to be part of the squad. As much as it was a friend, they need to prove that they want to be part of the team that will play the qualifiers, the AFCON, and also if we make the World Cup.
Do you think this is good preparation? Playing versus Tanzania, playing versus Mozambique, is that good enough preparation for us? Going into AFCON, going into the World Cup qualifiers, possibly going to the World Cup?
For my side, I don't think it's good preparation because we are playing teams that are so easy. Unlike both Senegal, you've said that they played both England, teams that are strong, that always get to semi-finals in the World Cup. And now we are playing against teams that only feature in COSAFA.
Okay, so
it
then,
doesn't
yeah.
It doesn't make it easy for us to know if our squad is really that strong enough to go to the World Cup and challenge those teams in the World Cup. Because at the World Cup, we are going to meet stronger teams like Netherlands, Portugal, France, Spain. And here we are just playing teams from the COSAFA.
Okay, Bongs. Let me see how much time. Bongs, okay, so what do you think of COSAFA? Where does COSAFA fit in all of this? Because at the end of the day, that's another group of players that are playing international football. And it doesn't seem like they have a pathway to Bafana. Do you think that we have connection there? COSAFA B team, C team, A team, under 20. Is there a connection and should there be a connection?
There should be a connection, but for COSAFA, for me, I don't rate it as a tournament that helps Bafana Bafana a lot because Bafana Bafana they play weaker teams, especially teams like Soweto, teams that they know they easily beat every time they play them.
Okay.
So I don't think that there are strong teams that they are playing there when they play COSAFA. It's better if we try and play stronger teams. Even if they bring their B team, we can try and beat them and know that we've gotten a win against them. It will help us, motivate us for when they come with their A team, so that we know that we can still beat them even when they come with their A team.
Okay. For time, I'm going to jump in. Let me go to Tobela. Tobela, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Thanks. And how are you?
Tobela, tell me, how do you feel about the two games Bafana Bafana played here with the big friendlies versus Tanzania and Mozambique?
Thank you, sir. Hey, in my opinion, people might argue that we only played against smaller nations, but the truth, let's be honest, wearing the Bafana Bafana jersey is not for everyone.
Okay.
There are some players that whenever they wear the Bafana Bafana jersey, you find that they have a stage fright and they tend to freeze, and it's no longer the same player that you normally see in the PSL. But honestly, I was very impressed with the young players, that were called. Yeah, but with regards to let me start with the first game, Tanzania. I must be honest, as a Pirates fan, I'm really disappointed with the likes of Tito Maswanganyi, I expected Tito Maswanganyi, for example, to be a leader in that particular team and for the team to carry the team. But Osukai, I think he's had a bad season throughout this season. And going into the second game, I was very impressed by this guy, Unyiko Mopi, I've never seen Unyiko Mopi the way he played. This was my first time seeing such confidence in him. I don't know whether he was combining very well with this boy.
God.
But then, wow. Yes, I saw this good Nyiko Mopi that I've never seen the offensive side of Nyiko Mopi, because I tend to think that he's an old-fashioned right back that tends to stay behind and then, but then I was really, really impressed with the second team. Everyone was willing to fight for the team. With the first game, it was a total different story,
I want to ask you about Tito. You mentioned Tito. Is Tito a second team player or is he a third team player? Would you trust him if something happens?
Honestly, I wish we had another player for that particular role, I've seen. I wish this team, Sundowns, were playing this boy, or the likes of Mayema, the likes of Mapena. Those are good candidates, you know. Also at Chiefs, we've got this boy Uzwane. I'm not sure of his name, but yeah, that boy. I think he's a good cam, you know. We need such players, you know. But then seemingly we don't have a backup other than Utito. But I wish we really had, you know.
Is there you're mentioning the young players, Mara? Is there a chance for young players to get into Hugo Bruce's team besides the ones that are not playing? Let's say, let's talk about the under-20s. Do you think that some of them should be featuring for the first A team in these friendlies? Do you think that there's a pipeline, there's a connection there?
Well, if for the first time in a long time, I believe there's a huge potential for these boys to get into the Bafana team. You know, when we saw this young boy, Pirates, this one who played 3 games, 4 games, and he was thrown into the deep end.
Oh, Silepe.
I just forgot. Yes, Silepe. And you see the likes of Mbokazi, the likes of, I mean, for the first time in so many years that our Bafana team, we get to introduce young players. You know, in the past, you find that a 24-year-old is considered a youngster. He's making a debut for Bafana, but this time around, you had around 4 19-year-olds or 20-year-olds in that particular team. So I believe that if ever these boys can raise their hand, like I saw this boy, I think he plays for Cape Town City in the National Under 20. I just forgot his name, but yeah, that boy is very good. I think
Cupido
10. No. I think no, he's not colored.
Oh, okay.
He's not colored, but
the comments will help us out. Yeah.
Yes, they are very, very good players out there. You know, they are very good youngsters in South Africa. And for the first time, our PSL teams are starting to trust in youngsters and develop a lot of youngsters, you know. So, yeah, for the first time, I really have hope. And we have a very good coach in Hugo Bruce is able to put trust in these youngsters.
I'm going to jump in there. Question for the comments. Is it Hugo Bruce's job to bring in youngsters? Is it Hugo Bruce's job to blood in under 20s and under 23s? Or should it be the way that it's worked right now, where Abumbogazi are brought in by Pirates and trusted by Jose Rivero and then passed on to Hugo that way? Question for the comments. Let me go to Ucebo. Ucebo, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, sure, I'm Banjan.
Man, tell me about these 2 games. How do you feel about Lama Friendly Wetu versus Tanzania and Mozambique?
Yeah, Pitso. I mean, it's been a while if no cool man now writing acting. There's a lot, my brother. But just to start here, guys, we know COSAF. Why are people now having amnesia about the COSAF? COSAF, you can go 10 years. We've never taken our best team to COSAF. COSAF, we let guys that are fringe players in the national team to go there and show us what they can do. But luckily, in the last couple of years, Bafana has grown in leaps and bounds. So necessarily, we're going to have first team players also being a COSAF, which you need. Yeah, but if you can look at the COSAF, 2015, it's 2025 now. Look at South Africa going to a COSAF in 2015. Probably think that it's an AFCON year. Yeah, I think in 2015 being AFCON.
Yeah.
If you look at the squad that we took to COSAFA and the squad that we took to AFCON, and probably no one that went to COSAFA actually went to the AFCON. But this time around, the dynamics are changing for the country, for the team. So we have a lot of players that can actually put their hands up, right? We have less games. This time around, we have time to say, okay, there's those Pirates guys, Hombo guys, and those are guys that have put their hands up in the national team. So it's forcing us to take a first team to the COSAF. So playing against Mozambique, I saw we had Mozambique had guys like Dove.
Well, that game wasn't COSAFA. The game in the afternoon was COSAFA.
Oh, yeah. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. We do have, even if you look at Ichen, you see, those tournaments, we just played normal ban. You can play in the tournament. But this time around, Ichen is going to force us to play local guys, because Bafana Bafana is one of the giants in African football, but we play with our PSL guys. So these tournaments that maybe we had laughed at a couple of years ago, now we're going to put our first team players. That's just the truth. Plus, this year it's an khanye. In about 6 months, we are going to AFCON to December.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't have enough games to actually say we can't afford to have some tournaments and say, no, you guys can sit down. So we have a lot of
That's actually what I wanted to ask you. 2 questions. Number one, do you think that we take Abo Kosafa that seriously? Do you think that Hugo Bruce should be more involved in that Kosafa team? Because it seems like Kiki Project like a separate team of people. And then number 2, do you think we're ready for AFCON and possibly the World Cup with the games that we're playing? Shouldn't we be aiming a bit higher with our friendlies?
No, I feel like that's a mistake. Ungabuka kamakhelwane. Don't look at kamakhelwane. Umkhulu lo Hugo Bruce, he has a project, has a plan, has an idea on what to do with Bafana Bafana. And we've been on this journey with him. He hasn't let us down. What's just they used to panic? Bruce akatetela umkhelele adlale ngAFCON. But there, Bruce is watching there. Those Paris guys, Otito, Ban. I saw you asking about Otito. I feel like there's a lot of hype around Otito. You asked the other guy before, Uti, is he a second team player, a third team player? No, I think he's a first team player, Otito. So Mosimane is supposed to go December. Yeah, bo. So people must not panic. Let's drive. England is all. I think it's all Monday. By the way, Senegal.
Yeah.
Which is the first time in history. But England would have said, oh no, I'm playing Senegal. They are a small team. But the African teams, as Bafana is rising, in Morocco, last World Cup, I finished with semi-final. Top 4. You see, so Africa is on an upward trajectory. We are tired of naysayers. We are tired of about doomsday, about fire and brimstone. Calm down. Everything is going nicely. And plus, as another point, as AFCON is playing now, the actual test Club World Cup, we know Masandawana boys, they are going to go play elites guys, Madrid, Dortmund, and those are guys are still part of Bafana Bafana setup. So as we are playing here, playing Kosafa, we still have Sundowns guys playing
Club World Cup.
Playing Club World Cup. They're gonna come back Club World Cup. Pirates is gonna be in the Champions League again along with Sundowns. Those are all preparations. The preparation of Abadlal is not just when you wear the Bafana chairs. The whole season is preparation for a major tournament.
What time I'm gonna jump in? Let me bring in Terence. Terence, welcome.
The brother.
Terence.
I can't say much, I greet you all in the name of football. And everyone on the live and everyone on the panel.
Play Bafana, man. These past the 2 big friendlies.
I don't want to talk about the Chen game. Let me leave the Chen game and the Kosafa games, the 2 Kosafa games. I think, the 2 Bafana games that I saw and what I saw in those games.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
The previous game, Hugo Bros gave Patrick Maswanga a chance of Toma, Talent Bata, a couple of players. Unfortunately, to some of those players, they didn't rise to the occasion.
Okay.
They didn't rise to the occasion because of they failed to understand the memo. Understand that. They failed to understand the memo. When you wear a Bafana jersey, you're representing the country. Our second best. It's not everyone who can get the opportunity. Understand that, Mr. Uti, to play for your national team. It's not everyone. There's a lot of players, my brother. Their wish is to wear Bafana jersey. That's why, but many are called, but few are chosen. You were chosen on that instance.
Okay.
You were supposed to rise sharp. It's the Bafana against Tanzania game.
But then can I ask you? I know you're talking about how getting a chance is, it should be sacred, right? But it's been feeling for me a little bit that, man, these friendlies, Bokosafa, and all of these other things, it's like everybody can get a chance. Should everybody still be getting a chance? Or should we now know that A team, quote unquote, ki Sundowns, but I Club World Cup, ki a B team. We know the B team, we know the names, they've been playing the friendlies. Should we have that, or is Hugo Bruce's approach right?
Approach of Hugo Bruce is very much right. One understand. He wants to give other players a chance. But let me tell you something on the game that I saw. Namibia. Mozambique, man. Mozambique against Bafana Bafana. TLB Mbogazi, that boy get the future of Bafana Bafana and future Bafana Bafana captain. I'm a Sundowns fan and love him, but I'm going to tell you the honest truth. Motaung CAF is the future of South African football. The boy just have to understand to play with as a team, even a team play, either combination passes. So I understand.
Okay.
Cupido, that goalkeeper has Cocoon. Guess Cocoon or King? The goalkeeper, the goalkeeper in second half after Sipo Chain.
Oh, was it Lina? Not Lina. Lina.
That guy, Sipo Chain must be very careful. That guy, I'm telling you this today.
Yeah.
Mark my words, you will remember me when saying this. That guy will be Hugo Bros number 2. Ira sign for Lukosi. Ira sign for Lukosi. No so.
Angeke bamukhethe. Ngeke bamukhethe.
Like ira be a pen on paper for Lukosi, that boy. I'm telling you the honest truth. Ira boy I be a pen on paper for Lukosi.
But then, look at the China example that you used. Is China a B team? Because Goss is also there, and then Sage Stevens, Lena Kilakena, he was performing for Stellenbosch. Who follows Williams there as an example of the mix-up their B team?
Let me tell you something. We have found Williams a successor.
Yeah.
Believe me, relax, my brother.
Mara, who've been playing the games this whole time.
My brother, let me close on saying this. I don't want to be long. I want to give others gents a chance. The reason why Hugo Bros is not afraid, let me tell you why. There is no bigger exposure than the Club World Cup in football-wise. It is the most biggest tournament after World Cup, after the Euro, after Champions League. It's the most biggest exposure football-wise. No player in Africa that competition. Everyone wants to play that competition. There you are meeting your peers. You are playing football at its highest. Happy Sundowns Ahly with the Esperance de Tunis. They are going to play football at its level best. The big names of football. So Hugo Bruce know what he's doing. Experience a tough and a heavy. Some analysts say something on
very quickly.
Go America. I think Mamelodi Sundowns and and Al Ahly. He said these two teams from Africa will go through with the group stages. They are the powers of African football.
Okay. For time, I'm going to jump in. For time, I'm going to jump in. Let me see if I can't get one last speaker in for the first panel. Question again for the comments. Should Hugo Bruce be caring about the rest of the guys? Prasipo, welcome to the show. How are you?
Evening, Mr. OT, and hey, it's been long. It's been long.
It's been long.
Yeah, man.
It's been too much, man.
But the passion is still there. I'm still watching the matches sometimes through my phone. But Mr. OT, the first point I want to make is that why not play the under-20 team that won the AFCON, the COSAFA?
Okay.
Because they'll be playing the World Cup as a preparation.
Yeah.
Give those boys a little bit of a tougher competition. As for the team that played Mozambique and Tanzania, remember Hugo Bros has got a pool of players that he selects.
Yeah.
And you can't challenge Morocco and all those things, even when you have money, without having some of your best players in.
Okay.
So you have to play these Molanyana countries and then get these players that you are introducing to the national team much needed experience to play, so that then at least you know that I've seen them at the international level. Remember, for AFCON, you can't be testing players during AFCON. So the coach has to take some of these players and take them to this B side, which we'll call it a B side. Although we've got Abo Mofokeng, Abo Chaine, those who are part of the A team. But it's a good thing that they are doing. I don't see anything wrong with this because it's giving a bigger pool. It's also giving these players an opportunity. But I'm only worried about COSAFA. Why not play our under-20s in the COSAFA? So that they can prepare for them.
Here in COSAFA. Maybe you can explain. What is COSAFA for? In the South African lens.
No, it's a regional tournament.
Yeah.
Where we play. Remember, not everyone will get an opportunity to qualify for AFCON. In all this. That is why we've got WAFU in West Africa, we've got CECAFA in Central Africa, and then we've got COSAFA in the Southern African part. So it's just a chance for these players to experience that international playing, and it's good for development of our football in the Southern region. That is why I'm saying, someone once suggested, why don't they just play it as an under-23 tournament? This COSAFA. Or as an under-20 tournament, so that we can be able to develop these players, so that by the time you take these players to the national team, already they are exposed to more games. Remember, these under-20s, they play how many times in a year? Less times. So having more games for them.
Mara Principal, should Hugo Bruce care? I mean, when you look at the squad that he selected for the Mozambique game, he didn't play under 20. Well, he should have played. Well, he was playing Pirates, whatever. Champion players kaofela. Sakeni. Stilepe. Champion players kaofela. Sakeni. Abongota. But champion baba in the queue.
We should be happy for the first time we have a Bafana coach who select players on form.
Okay.
Because in the past you used to cry that you have seen the same players, even players that are on form that are playing. Remember our national team coach. I'm not his supporter, but the good thing that he's doing, he's winning, and he attends our PSL matches to come and watch the very same players that he selects. So it's not easy so some players will jump the queue, and many players, especially if he sees potential in those players. It's unfortunate. There is even this trend of saying, yes, as much as I support Pirates, but young players, you must not throw them into the deep end always. Not all of them will be like Messi and Ronaldo. You need to gradually, just like how Mofokeng was gradually introduced at Pirates, not playing full. It's only this season when Mofokeng was playing like a season player, but last season he will play from the bench, he will play there and there. So I'm still saying, even in the national team, we must give these young boys an opportunity. But Mr. Oti, the best place is COSAFA. For me, the best place is COSAFA.
Okay.
So that, imagine now there are even other good players, and I hope Mr. Hugo Bruce can stop saying negative things about Kaizer Chiefs. Because Kaizer Chiefs is a big team in South Africa. To say that Kaizer Chiefs is not performing, so I'm not selecting their players, just right in the media, that's disrespect. Now the players are selected by the COSAFA coach. Why not give these games against Tanzania? Why not give Duba? Duba has performed, OT. We have to be honest.
For time, I have to jump in. I give it to Kenya. Hey, Prasipo Kenya, somewhere else. Okay, guys. So please remember, there's going to be 4 panels tonight. We've had the first one, so there's still 3 remaining. 3 panels, 5 people each. Everybody gets 5 minutes. Tell me for 2 minutes what you think about the question I'm asking you, and then allow us maybe another 2 or 3 minutes to be able to just have a conversation about the things you say, because a lot of people say some interesting things here, but there isn't enough time. And also, can we please respect the next panelists that are coming up. Please wrap up as soon as you can and hit your point as hard as you can. Very early. Let me bring in PK. PK.
Hola, Uti.
How are you, PK?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. Eriki dumedise batho mo paneleng le mo di comment section.
Nna ke re a nge kudikene tsena ka hobane o gym kwa ko America. Ko ha
I
Trump.
mean, OT, don't bring it up. I mean, levels. So it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Or why Hugo worried and intimidated by this preparation and stuff. He knows his A team is preparing and facing the real players there, you know. So
Yeah.
Ushilo limu bamotsa bar so basically see Germany or something. I don't know. No. When my players are not here. So
My players.
Yeah,
Man.
no. But you know, I think in the Bruce we trust. I think in the Bruce he have proved himself. He went against all political agendas and stuff, and he carried the mandate and executed it very well.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, we as Bafana Bafana, at some point we even lost interest on looking at Bafana Bafana because we were subjected to mediocrity. And Hugo came for the first time. Coach khona go tsamaya iya ko Hatikin team ya ga police and select the player.
Okay, yeah.
Polokwane City and bring other players from other teams and being able to leave the biggest team in South Africa and say, I'm not selecting anyone because they are not performing. Standing and taking accountability to say, I will take players who are performing.
Okay.
But I like that. Yesterday, I just want to swallow my pride as a Mamelodi Sundowns supporter and say Relay and Nkota.
Yeah.
Wow. Those boys, those boys are really coming. I like the boldness of Nkota yesterday, just standing up. What a talented young boy. I just pray that he's not the next Saleng case. He continues to play football and become consistent. I like Relay Mofokeng is on another level. We cannot even debate or engage on that. I pray that he remain humble. I pray that he surround himself with people who will advance his football. But I just I just like how Hugo stand his ground.
Yeah.
And the way it is channeled. I didn't look at Masonga.
Yeah.
I didn't
Tito
look
nasiyo.
at Tito. Unasiyo. Uko ka?
Nasi. Naliko benchi.
Tholakala. Okay, no, it's fine. Maybe abuti kutso. Fela ke tinta abuti kutso. But I don't know, it's fine. You know my standing point, you know how I feel, but I'm just happy. These two players, Nkota, Relay, not even 2-3, Mbogazi.
Yeah.
They are coming out, and I'm happy to say we can Leruna for the first time. Rataba, you know, African football. Hey, look at South Africa. Be careful of South Africa for the first time, at least.
Mara PK for time. I wanna jump in. Utabwa kimang. Kawani ila ridala differently. I wanna ridala libo mang. If we're going to a World Cup, do you think that Batore Taba the same way?
For now, I'm talking about AFCON.
Okay.
You know, Egypt must be. It must know that it's competing with people who are on another level. Nigeria, for example, Nigeria and now for the first time, they know that they are competing with someone who is able to score and win a game.
Okay.
Even other teams, man, I can count a lot. And I'm glad that Ariako AFCON last time we were undermined.
Yeah.
We were scrutinized, and we
we showed people, even when we played Cameroon, even ourselves, I was shocked myself to see how, okay, we are progressing. Okay, in the next, and then jiggy, yeah. So I'm just saying, we as South African, we are rising up, and we are, yeah.
For time, I need to jump in. Let me go to Grote Shoe Cleaning. Welcome. Grote Shoe Cleaning. Can you hear me? Oh, there we go. How are you, my brother?
Good on you, man.
I'm good. Tell me about these two friendlies, man.
Yeah, I was impressed, especially with the second game, the yesterday one. Yes, that's the one that impressed me mostly. I just want to be short. I was also impressed with Nkota. I was also want to talk about Nkota. Yeah, he's a pro player, very good player, but he just need to share the responsibilities. I mean, I think you need to share the responsibilities as well. You need to share the ball, but otherwise he's a very good player. I was very, very, very impressed. And number 2, the goalkeeper, Delena. Yeah, I wish Sundowns could sign him. No, we need the best, man. We need the best.
You've got Onyango. You've got February. You've got Williams. Still on top.
Onyango's old. Onyango's very old. He's 40 now. So we need the number 2. We need the best one. We need Lena. We need the best one, surely. Yeah. So otherwise, man, I'm also shout out to you, man, as well to your show. I mean, I'm also impressed, man. I'm following you every time, man. So big up to you, my brother. Big up to you.
No, thank you for joining. But before you go, I want to ask you, what do you think about this conversation we're having about the roles of COSAFA, the roles of the under-20s, the roles of the B teams and C teams and A teams? Do you think that all those things should be connected, or should Hugo Bruce just be thinking about whoever's on form?
I think it should be continue with whoever is on form. That's the most important point. I don't think COSAFA, for me, I'm not into COSAFA and under 20, and I'm not into that because of still, even if look at under 17, under 20, I mean, you look at those players, but they will still jump. They still have the opportunity to jump to the senior team. I mean, we saw with this boy, this this one, the one from Parrot, the one who came second half. No, the one who came Slepe.
Oh, Slepe, yeah.
He makes things simple. He makes football simple. So, but look, he jumped. I mean, almost a lot of players. I mean, who've been playing for a long. I mean, in PSL.
Yeah.
You see. Yeah. So. Okay. So into COSAFA and the 20, no, I'm not necessarily into that, but so far I'm impressed with how Hugo Bruce is doing. Selecting the players, how they are performing.
Okay.
Simple as that.
No, thank you so much, Grote Shoe Cleaning. Welcome to the panel family. Please come back. Let me go to Malume Kuto. Hey, the Ghana we said 2024 champ.
Just like 2025, which Mara Pirates is needing something. Defender the cup food. Go be. So I need to be. I said, "Similar to Borussia Dortmund." With fix the country PVP. Fix the country PVP. Fluminense fix the country. Ching Chong Lee. Huang He fix the country.
Oh,
but anyway,
and the general conversations we've been having.
Give a ground more OT right now. I'm just waiting for a game.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what's the difference? And what makes it right for these players to be given a chance? Maybe development, Mr. OT, and maybe the GDL is coming to the fore now. Which is, unfortunately, if you're over a certain age, you might have not played in structures like the GDL in organized football at a young age.
You
understand? And now these young boys, unfortunately, have developed in a way that surpasses you.
Yeah.
And they're able to deal with the pressure differently from a player and they fit the stage. I understand. So your GDLs, your ABCs, your all of these tournaments, 3,000 one, Hill engine, they expose these players to high level competition. They test them mentally. So maybe some of these players, Bafana Bafana, they are used to big tests. They are not frightened, the OT, by the stage. They're like, I've been doing this since the age of 13. Yeah, understand. And for some of them, 13 is like what, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
If not 6 years ago, in the case of players like Abumbogas, you understand. Unfortunately, for the likes of Abu Tito, who are already in the squad, they may take an even longer time to adapt because they don't have that background. Yeah, structures are so I think about really Nabonko are finding it easy because of it development in history in that regard. So yeah, I think that's the closest assumption I can come to because Labafana, Mr. Uti, they're not even struggling, Mr. Uti.
Yeah.
And I think it's justified for the coaches to play a player like Motsepe. Unfortunately for the country, one of the previous coaches has just left the country. So who are going to look at Slepe and be like, hey, I'm playing for my job here. Hopefully we get someone who is as brave.
Is there not a tension, but is there a thing, man? Because I'm looking at the non-Sundowns players that are maybe going to be called, right? And some of the returning players like Abu Tembazwane are probably going to make it directly into the team. You look at Abu Elias Mokwena, who he's at the Club World Cup as well. He was the player that was almost the first teamer. You think about, the different guys, Abu Ngezana and those guys. Should they be playing these games? Or do we now trust them enough that they can deputize the quote-unquote first team even without getting this game time, if that makes sense?
I think with the situation being anticipated ahead of time, Mr. Oti, they organize these specific teams with the foresight that most of the first team won't be around. And therefore, the other guys who have been around the corridors would need a much more bigger taste, a stronger taste than just, with all due respect, a Tanzania or a Mozambique, you understand? Yeah, I think Mukwana and Gezana are first teamers, Mr. Oti. But I get what you mean. Yes, they are, but they have not solidified their position. But would a good performance against Mozambique or Tanzania change how we view them? Not necessarily, but would it help create depth in the sense of Uti? Yes, the simplest example is Tembazwane. With Tembazwane is injured, we're struggling to find a replacement within the 25 men, copy and paste. But can we then look for someone elsewhere, you understand, who's probably untested? Let's just give him a chance. So Lama Friendly Lawa, when they were kind of announced, yes, I won't call it, and not call it, I don't think they were even professional players when Safa entered these friendlies. But it was with the foresight of saying all first teamers would not be present. You understand, Mr. Oti? That's how I see it. I look at it and I think, okay, vele lama game la Mozambique bawenzele players like Abombogazi and maybe your Ngezanas, your Mokwanas. I'm just trying to find another backup player. Maybe your Spees.
Your Mahopas.
That's one. He's a first team player. That one. you know, man, the players.
Yeah. We just lost Malube Kuto there. Guys, please tap the screen. Tap the screen.
I'm saying we'll play against. We'll play them when the first friendlies against Netherlands, Sfagile is Sundowns, and then the second one is like against Cameroon, Sfagile Machita, you know. And yeah, ngoza sabat bafuna lengonya le ban. Yakumbula kudala, Mr. OT. People used to actually say, "Come to Chiefs and you'll get the national team."
Yeah.
How things have changed.
Mara, why must you leave on that note? But it's fine. It's fine. No, it's okay. Leave me with heartbreak here. Let me go to Orab 54. How are you? Welcome.
I'm alright, man. How are you?
I'm good. Orab, tell me about these two friendlies. How did you feel about them?
I mean, the first one, I didn't understand why I watched it. Because, like, oh, boys, it's like, the ones that came in now, like, they're inexperienced. You know, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. And quite frankly, I understand why Coach Hugo Bruce put them on, because they want to, experiment, see if they're internationally ready, which is also good. Like, the second match, I think it was also good, at least we still
Can I just check something, Rabile? Guys in the comments, can you hear Orab? Can you hear him properly? I just want to make sure of something. Comments, can you hear Orab properly? It keeps cutting, like it's got a cutting to it.
Oh, I'm
okay,
sorry,
wait.
man.
I think it's better now. You can go ahead, boy. Yeah, you can go ahead, my brother. Oh, okay, we'll come back. We'll come back to him. Let me go to Orab, are you with me? Okay, Shaba, welcome to the show. How are you? Shaba, can you hear me? It seems like there's something wrong. Guys, please let me know if maybe I'm cutting as well. There in the comments. Guys, feel free to request again so I can get you in. While we get a new panel in, I just want to say, look, the question that I'm asking is not to say that Hugo Bruce is doing anything wrong. I just want to know if we have a set B team. And what I mean by set B team is, if you've noticed, every time we've played these type of friendlies, Tanzania, Mozambique, Andorra, you find that the players that we call B team players, or the guys that we are expecting to call upon when things go wrong, are not quite up to it when they get onto the pitch. And to be fair, maybe what you're doing is you're saying, I trust my first team, quote unquote, so much. And I know that it's international football, so very rarely will you get a situation like the Club World Cup where everybody's gone. So it's not like you need to have everybody ready. But my worry is, number one, the guys on the bench, are they actually of the level to take over when things go wrong? Are they on the level that when you need a game changer, can you look on the bench and say, hey, Utito must come on and change the game, right? Number one. Number two, there's also maybe a question about the space in the team for young players that you're building up. And to be fair again, Abong Fukeng were in and around Bafana Bafana to the point where now, remember, he got 10 minutes months ago. He was getting Bolma 10 minutes. Remember Ronwen putting him on his shoulders. Now he's looking to shape up to be a guy that's coming in. Don't you think that we need a little bit more of that? And then I think thirdly, one of my other questions is down to the fringe first team players. I'm going to mention Bongezana. I'm going to mention Abongezana, Abo Mokwena, Abo Mihlali Mayambela, Abo, okay, Yayastul is probably a starter in this team. But there's a lot of players that maybe should be getting some time within that national team setup. And if not, bring in others who get the time. Because as a national team, you don't get that much play time throughout the year, obviously. But then also, we're ramping up, guys. We're ramping up. We're ramping up to AFCON right now. We're ramping up to the World Cup right now. Should we be bringing these guys in? And you see other guys parachuting in every now and then Does that destabilize the national team? Does that destabilize the structure of the team? But I say all that to say, I trust Hugo Bruce. I just question the pipeline. And to be fair to him, maybe it's not the national team manager's job to care about all of these other guys that are coming in. If he's got a first team that has played, that has got some momentum, that have played together, that he trusts, and he's letting the other guys just come in, hey, because the one thing that Hugo Bruce always does, is that he'll shut you up. Oh, you guys want to see who? Okay, that's fine. We've got a friendly coming up on Friday. Let me show you why I don't play these guys, which is a very interesting dynamic. But let me do this so I can also save time while I'm here. Guys, feel free to request. Paris trusted the first team, it hurt them, so Bafana must not do the same. Buhle says the best way is to put them in hot waters. That's the only way we could see if they're good enough. Well, Buhle, that's a very good point. My question to you then becomes, how hot are hot waters? Because you saw Senegal swimming in boiling water versus England. Meanwhile, we are afraid to test some of the other players versus Morocco, right? Are we going to get shocked when we get to play those guys that side when we qualify for the World Cup? Are we doing enough work for that too? That is one of the questions I have. But I'm going to start a new timer here so I can bring in the new panel. Just Black, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, and you, Mr. OT?
I'm good. What did you feel about the games, and what do you feel about the conversations we're having?
Okay, when it comes to the two games, I understand why Hugo chose, not to be disrespectful, but weak opponents.
Okay.
Because he didn't want to put pressure on the new guys, right?
Okay.
He wanted to see who if they can at least deliver on these so-called weak opponents. So you can't just start them and throw them into the deep end like that, and they come back with, as he said, 5-0. Now their confidence is gone and all that. So I understand why he did that. And the way you're asking that, okay, our pipeline, I think it was the best way to choose a few players that we can take to AFCON with.
Okay.
Even if they don't play, but to be around the squad, like with the qualifiers that are coming in September. I think a player like Bokazi, a player like Motaung CAF, I think Mukota should be there because we have a problem on right wing. If you check on Bafana Bafana, we have a right wing problem. Mokwena doesn't really have competition. So players like Nkota, players like Mbokazi, I think those are the players that should be around the squad. Get your 10 minutes, get your 5 minutes, introduce them the way we introduced the relay, and they will be ready. That's the best way to bring players in. Because we have a problem. We didn't do that.
Yeah.
With some. Now you can ask.
No, I wanted to ask you, but then what happens to the guys that have been there? I'll give you an example. Ricardo Goss and Velimotwa were the number 2 and number 3 for so many games. And now we're seeing Bolina jumping, Bo Sipo Chaine jumping, Bo Sage Stevens coming in at some point. Do you think, can I count it as time wasted doing that? Thinking that Bokos are the answer, but then maybe Chaini now is the answer, and we're rushing them in. You know, Bogazi is rushed into this team and maybe rushed into the first team. Let's say similar to Dotling, Gezan, and them. Would you say that it's wasted time that we didn't do that earlier with some of the players, and we've held on to some players who aren't playing, who don't get to play, and when they do play, we see that they're not up to the level. If that makes sense. Am I lagging? Can you guys hear me?
No, okay. What you say makes sense. No, I think it's my network That's why maybe my response a bit delayed. Okay, let me do this, Namestewati. Let me jump off and request again in a few seconds. I think my thing is delayed.
Okay, we'll go with that. Let me bring in Orab 54. Orab, are you a little bit better now?
Oh yeah, I'm doing fine now.
Okay, let's try it and then let's see if they can hear you. Sorry, I don't know if you can pick up where you left off.
I thought about like these 2 games. Yeah, can you hear me? Is it better?
It's still shaky, but let's see.
Oh, is it better now? Just fix my Wi-Fi. No.
Yeah, I think we're just having an issue there. In the meantime, guys, there in the comments, tell me if you can hear Orab and you can continue. Orab, just carry on talking, and I'll tell you if I can't hear you, if the comments are saying something.
All right. No, those 2 games. No, I see that the boys performed really well. It was good that Coach Hugo brought in new faces into the squad. To see if are they really ready for that Bafana level. And then also for me personally, I think that we are already doing fine in terms of getting a replacement for Tshwane. I mean, the boys were really doing well even without him with the last 2 qualifications last year. And I think they're still doing good now. I mean, like, look how they did with Lesotho and Benin, 3 months back during the
Yeah, no, Orab, it's not working. It's not working. For time, I'm gonna jump in. Let me see. Just Black. Are you back with me? Oh, hey, they're so cold tonight. Okay. I'll jump in, guys. Feel free to jump in. I think Just Black and Aura are having some network issues there. Please tell me if you can hear me, if I'm still having an issue. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Okay, so while I wait for new people to jump in, let me speak about these 2 games. I think the Tanzania game was interesting because I feel as though there was a feeling around that game that you could feel from the players. They could feel that, man, this is not really an audition. We're being thrown out there. Abutito a little bit disappointing in that game. I think a lot of the players just came into that game to play and finish the game. I don't know if it's maybe an ego thing that they feel as though they're already part of the team or they're part of this B team and they don't need to do too much. Because the moment we came to Mozambique and we are playing with these youngsters that maybe, no, they don't have a solidified space. This is their chance. This is their opportunity to do something when it comes to a Hugo Bruce team. We started to see them play. And the hunger that was showed by Rile, by Nkota, the hunger that was showed by Mapungule, as well as Kimang Kwaiba, Leroux in the midfield, Umbogaz in the way he was defending, I think was incredible. And that is what you wanted from players who are being given a chance. Now, again, my argument is not that you shouldn't be bringing new players in. My argument is that maybe at some point you need to become a consistent B team. And a B team that we know that when Kosafa's playing, they play. When these friendlies are playing, they play. So that when they step into the team, we know that we've seen them. We know that they've been around Hugo Bruce, but then also they've got games under their legs, right? There's plenty of players that we can speak about that have had, we speak about them so highly to say they're the second or they're the third best players in the squad and all of that stuff until something happens and they have to be number 1. So I don't want to go too hard on him. But remember when Velimoto came into the team, Velimacho has been traveling with the team for how long? But then at the moment where he's being tested, unfortunately for him, he has a very bad game and never makes it back into the squad. So now the question becomes, did we not waste the place, but did we waste maybe some experience that could have been given to another goalkeeper in the vein of Tshwane, in the vein of Sage Stevens, maybe even this Lena kid, I don't know, where they could be in and around the squad, they could play the friendlies, we know the level, and then we know that if something happens, we can call on them, right? That is the question that I've had, you know? And again, I don't want to go too hard on this because Hugo Bruce has made it possible for some of the players. Bomfukeng were playing Boma 10 minutes and getting chances now to play full games. You know, there's been players that have gotten their time to play here and there. But there's also been a lot of players in the squad that are just guys who are baggage, who are brought along with the team. And then that leads me to speaking about the pipeline. And I have a huge issue with the pipeline, you know, because in an ideal world, you can go from under 17 to under 20 to under 23 to Bafana Bafana, and at any given moment, the core performers, the star performers from these teams are being brought along to Bafana. It's a 25-man team. We know that it's a 20-man team, and 5 of them are maybe youngsters that we're giving, that are putting their hands up, and we can put with the first team just for the experience of being around the guys, for Hugo to see them, for Hugo to make them train, for Hugo to go under those things, to understand what Coach Hugo does, stuff like that. But there's such a disconnect between first team, B team, C team, COSAFA team, where COSAFA is just a bunch of randoms. You know, at some point, what's his name, who moved from Pirates, now it's Kukune, or he left Kukune. We're all crying about him. I'm forgetting his name. But anyway, those are the players that were playing for that team. And it seemed like there was no way in hell, quote unquote, they were going to make it into the Bafana team in any capacity. You have some of the guys who are putting up their hands in under 20, under 23, or wherever, under 20, under 17, who just won an AFCON, and maybe just for experience sake, take that right-wing kid, take the midfielder, take them to Bafana Bafana so they can be there, right, with the first team in and around. But instead of taking the AFCON guys that just won the under-19, there's the goalkeeper, the under-19 World Cup, under-17 World Cup, under-20 World AFCON, sorry. Instead of taking those guys, you have guys who are parachuting over them. So you have an example of a Silepe, who is a great player, right? But he only played something like 4 games for Pirates towards the end of the season. Should he get the chance over a consistent performer at under 20, who's maybe won the AFCON recently now? Should maybe those guys be called in? You know, you have Mbogazi, who fine, also played for Pirates in Africa and all of those games, but he didn't play for the entire season. He had a third of a season, right? Do you take him and put him over somebody who was a B team, quote unquote, player for Bafana Bafana, who maybe could be getting the time to run there? So again, I think there is a little bit of an issue with the structure and how it moves. But to be fair to Coach Hugo, he's unbeaten. So you can't question him that much. I just feel like we're losing opportunities, maybe not at a first team level or at a bench level, but at a level to blood in some players who are currently having African experience on a national team level, right? And it's not to say that everybody must come in, but Nangu goalkeeper, for example, from the under-20s, right? Maybe he deserves to be the third Bafana Bafana keeper. You might not play for Bafana Bafana, but you'll be in and around the camps. You'll understand Hugo. You'll go to you should still have an under-23. And then by the time you make it into Bafana Bafana, you have been in that system for a while. You understand it. Again, credit to Hugo because he's done that with Aborile. So this is a very interesting conversation that I want to have with you guys. That what is the point of the national teams? Because back then, I remember, I'm old enough to remember personally, when Abo Booth We're moving from the under 20 team to the under 23 team to Bafana Bafana. You know, there was a line, and it felt like everybody cared about all of the different levels. But now every level is doing its own thing. Under 23 is doing its own thing. Under 20 is doing its own thing. Under 17 is doing its own thing. Bafana Bafana is doing its own thing. So that's going to be interesting. One of the other things that I really do want to touch on is our friendlies. You know, there's all this fear that everybody's talking about. We fear that if we bring a big team, it's a shy 5-0. Would you rather not have the 5-0 happen now, knowing that when you go into the World Cup, you know your level? Knowing that when you go to the World Cup, you've got some months or something to at least think about the things you did wrong in that game. That French game for me was such an eye-opening game for Bafana Bafana, for the national teams, for what we're doing at national team level. That, okay, this is what Mbappe's level is. This is what Mbappe's level is. And these are the people who are going to go face. Now we can go home with homework and say that, okay, these are the things we need to build. These are the players we need to find. This is maybe what we need to do at a holistic level with Safa, right? That's what we need to be doing. But if you're scared of them today and you're scared of being embarrassed today, do you know what's going to happen when you go face them in a World Cup? I don't want to be embarrassed when you get there. Rather have the data now. Look at Abu Senegal. You know, I watched that Senegal versus England game, and I'm sorry, guys. It's going to sound so unpatriotic, but I don't see a Bafana team playing like that. I don't see it. I don't see a Bafana team playing versus one of the bigger teams in the world and having the same drive, finishing, aggression, press. They beat those guys 3-1. You know, they beat those guys 3-1. And you sit back and you go, Bafana Bafana. Yes, Mozambique. It's nice, yes. Mara, can you compete at that level? And again, I don't want to step on anything Hugo Bruce is doing right now. But hey guys, I don't know, hey? Open. I'm reading the comments. Open. There's lucky, and then there's being lucky, and then there's being able to take the opportunity when you are lucky. Do you see a world where Bafana Bafana pressures England like that? And maybe it's because we haven't seen them play. Maybe they can, but we haven't seen them play. But is there a world where you could see Bafana Bafana doing that to an England, to a Germany, I don't know, we're going to see with Netherlands. We have those type of players. And wouldn't those games give us a long, hard look at ourselves in order to see? For example, Sundowns is going to the Club World Cup. Do you know what the benefit of the Club World Cup is going to be? Sundowns is going to play in that tournament and be able to gauge themselves versus the world. And it's a team that maybe in the normal format, you don't get to go out a lot. So you can dominate Africa or be one of the best teams in Africa. You can be one of the best teams in South Africa where you're beating everybody, right? But how many times do you get to test yourselves versus the world? And yes, we're looking at AFCON and those type of things, but at some point we have to look up. Are we ready to do that? Okay, let me see. You can't rely on one team to win games. While we have a huge pool of talent in SA, we do have players. Well, I guess then the question becomes, do you trust? The question becomes, does the national team coach have the time, have the mandate to develop those players? Or is the national team coach's job to just come out and say, you guys are performing. You guys have won the league 8 times in a row. I'm going to play you guys. You just come from a CAF Champions League final. I'm going to play you guys. Oh, Pirates is following up. They were unbeaten in the Champions League up until when they got knocked out. Maybe I should take players from there. Isn't that what a national team coach is meant to be doing? If we're following the argument. Open says it's an African problem, score and defense, says Open. It's King Spoiler, E2 King Spoiler says, how do we play? What system are we playing? Look, I think that Bafana Bafana has a couple of systems, but for me, there's two that stand out. So if you think about the game we played versus Mali and Namibia, I think it was, in the AFCON, that was a very transition-based team. And I think it's based off of who we're going to be playing. So if you are open, they're going to be able to cut you open through transitions. Like yesterday, we saw with Mozambique. At some point, they were playing a back two with a central defensive midfielder in front of them, and they had pushed both of their wing backs up, which created a lot of space. And you started to see Abo Mfukeng move around a lot easier. But then there's the secondary system that Hugo Bruce likes to use, where Mahopaldinho comes into the pitch. And what happens there is it's usually a long ball. They love long balls, usually centrally, to be won by Mahupa, who then cheats. It's a cheat. You play the ball, Mahupa flicks it on, it lands that side. We're now in attacking phases, and you hope that it lands for Abo Tembazwane, Abo Pesitau, and they can take advantage of that. I see a similar system brewing Ngabo Rile, because if you watch Kwaiba and who's the guy who was playing with man? Kwaiba and the striker, Umbutuma. You couldn't tell who was the striker, and both of them tended to drop back, with Kwaiba then being the support player, which meant that what they wanted to do was create spaces for Nkota and Rile to be able to run centrally without having somebody there, similar to what you see when Umahopa plays with them. So I think those are the two main systems that Bruce likes to play. It's either overwhelms you in transition when he sees that maybe you don't have a pressing mind, or you are not committing that many people forward. The moment you do, he catches you off and they run. Think about Pesitau, the long balls to Pesitau. Think about the long balls that were played over to Abo Morena when we were in tough spaces versus, let's say, Morocco, right? But then otherwise, he likes to Mahopa win the first ball, because there was a time when Ustole, no Mokwena, couldn't turn and play the ball up. So that's what I think. We once played England with the first team. We lost 2-1. Ben Mbappe and Yamal played for the big national team at their teens, but they were also regulars in the league. Yasmin, I wish you could challenge the big countries, says Umonde. I wish so too. You can't compare us with the Senegal team with so many players playing overseas for well-known teams. Well, then, Mr. Q, maybe that's the question we should be asking then. Why don't we have players that are like that? You know, we come from South Africa where we had a Benny, we had a Stephen Pinar, we had our Quintin Fortune, we had, all the way back to our Lucas Khatebe. We had major players playing in those markets. What is stopping them from doing it now, right? And is maybe some of the problem that we are arguing about an under 20, but some of those players are playing in SA, whereas maybe you should have been gone as early as 16, if we're being fair. So isn't that another question you should ask then? When you go and play France and they beat you 5-0 and it's Mbappe killing you guys, why aren't you asking the question that why aren't we creating Abo Mbappe, more Mbappes, more top-level worthy players, if that makes sense? Did Senegal beat a first-team England, or was it a B team? I don't know, but I saw Abu Kyle Walker there. I saw a bunch of big players there. They did bring in, who was it? About Jude Bellingham later on. But Bosaka were there, Boeze were there, Rice, I believe, was there. Yeah, it was pretty much a first team. Do you think South African style of playing football disadvantages Bafana Bafana against others? Momo, I like this question because for me, this is the question that I ask. If Bafana Bafana and South African football was not in Africa and we were competing elsewhere, let's say we were playing in Brazil or we're playing in Europe, do you think that we would be better in that context than the context that we're in right now, where we're playing in Africa and every time we go play these tournaments, we see that there's a physical game. There's the guys are bigger, they're more powerful, whereas we are more technical. So Malume Kutso always says this on the live, he was speaking about it, that right now, we're trying to make Bafana Bafana taller. So if you look at the options that they're making right now, the choices they're making, Aboya is taller coming in, Abo Kwaiba coming in, which are taller people. You know, you look at the defense, you're looking for taller players. Abongezana are making it in because they're a little bit taller than the other guys, right? So now the question, I guess, for the comments then is, are you selling your soul? I don't like that comment, but are you selling your soul to win in Africa only to get beaten in the world because you're playing a different football than what you're used to? So I think that's the line that Hugo Bruce always has to play on. That how do I bring a Themba Zwane into the game and make sure that Themba Zwane is effective while knowing that a lot of the time we're going to be out-muscled, we're going to be out-told, we're going to be out-powered a lot of the time. And what he did in the AFCON was to go, okay, guys, we don't have time to be playing it up the center, sneakers and ball and doing all of those things. Maybe what we'll do is play the ball to Mokwena, Mokwena plays it back, somebody shoots it forward, Mudiba wins the first ball. Now we've cheated to give Abo Zwane the ball in the final third, right? So now he's bypassed that physicality or maybe the ability of these African teams to have power and pace and all of those type of things. So I guess that's the question I have for the comments. Let me see. Someone told me that local football is too slow. Funny enough, Gavin Hunt has said that local, African football is slower. We always did our thing with local players as open. Katebe was Leeds captain in a big league. Yeah, but we had Abo Dikhashwe, Digashwe, as they used to call him. Dikhashwe was playing overseas. We used to draw against Germany's first team back in the day. Price tag OT. I don't think Fukeng will leave because most teams are not willing to pay over 1 million euros. Jero, I'm coming. I just want to answer this question. I don't think it's price tag that's holding Fukeng back. What I think is holding Fukeng back right now, personally, is you're asking a European team to take a 20-year-old that still needs to be developed. So you're asking them to take him and develop him and then play him within a 2 or 3 year period after he's turned 20. A lot of those teams might not want to invest here. They might just look at their own teams and say, well, in my development, I've got 3 or 4 Mfukeng types, or at the very least Mfukeng level players, and I'm going to take those guys. And yeah, they're 2-3 years younger than Mfukeng. They're already there. Why would I now try and go through the whole thing of bringing this guy over and, you know, we have to teach him how to be in Europe and he has to acclimatize to what it's like that side and all of the language, the cultures. Then we have to still develop him on top of that and make sure that he gets game time and all of that stuff. If you look at the guys that we're speaking about, a lot of them, not all, left very early. They left very early. For that reason, that, okay, I don't think Benny grew up South African, if that makes sense. I don't think his football, he grew up South African. I think at the places where he needed to go from here to here, he did that when he had left to Europe. I think he was playing for 7 Stars still when he was 17, I think, or something like that. Made his debut for Bafana, left. At 17, at least I know that, okay, and they never played that football. I don't think Steven Pienaar played South African football like that outside maybe a year or 2, or was it go Ajax if I'm not mistaken. So those guys are leaving so early that they are basically European, which is a lesser investment than if I'm trying to take a 20-year-old, you know, that, you know, I think for you to want to go out and be in the top leagues like that, you'd have to be setting this league on fire. And I mean setting this league on fire to joke levels. Mfukeng should be scoring as many league goals as Abo Ribeiro, Abo Zbanbane, for them to take that big of a risk. Because now you find a Cassius Malula, who was a very good player at Sundowns, right? Now goes to England and they go, not England, he goes to America and they go, there's Benedetti, there's, who's the other guy? Inasho, I'm forgetting the names, but those are 2 internationals that we can trust at this level. When we'd still have to blood you in and we'd still have to get you right. Nangupesi. Maybe the answer is Belgium. But anyway, Jero, welcome. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you, Oti?
I'm good. Jero, what do you want to jump in on?
Yeah, this is a very broad discussion. Yeah, I'm happy that you went so broad. I'm gonna take you back. I want to start on the point of Bafana Bafana with conquering Africa. I'm gonna take you back, Oti, about mid 2000s, about 2004, 2005, leading up to 2010, even before we knew we're going to 2010. I remember we used to play a lot of European teams, a lot of Scandinavian teams, about Denmark, about Slovenia, and we used to be getting beat one way. Every time we go friendly, we used to lose to these Europeans, and we'll go there. Because I think vision, SAFA back then was to expose our players
to the world,
expose our foot to the world, but only to find which we are very short. We not compete. I remember there was one team which hasn't won, I think, in 5 years or something, but they were able to beat us 5-0 or 5-1. I think it was Moldova or something like that. One of those Scandinavian teams. So after that, after 2010, especially when we didn't go to 2006 World Cup, we then beat it for 2010. And then we continued with that. And we were losing one way. We're losing. And I remember when it came to friendlies, we didn't play African teams. We hardly, let me just say hardly. And then we went to 2010. After 2010, a lot of people were saying, no, guys, we cannot conquer the world before we conquer Africa. That's where we started focusing on playing in Africa. That's when Pitso started coaching as a head coach. So now the vision changed from conquering the world to let's start first by conquering Africa. So now, as you can see, now Sundowns is playing more and more, and then Pirates now is playing more and more, and then now you can see Chiefs wants to join, and you can see the results. Okay, we want to conquer our region first before we go overseas, like Senegal. You see now Senegal is in the right place to be able to go a European win easily, like they did yesterday. So I mean, ISAFA, the way they are playing this thing, I think they are on the right track, because 90% of your games anyway, you're gonna play it in Africa, whether it's World Cup qualifiers or AFCON qualifiers or AFCON itself, you are gonna be here.
So Chero, but I want to ask you, Chero, on that point that you're making there, again, going back to the example I made, did we sell out, quote unquote, hey, please, did we sell out our South African culture? Because even normally we look at South Africa, we don't think of South Africa as Africa, quote unquote. You get what I mean? Like it's usually seen as a global country or whatever. We usually overlook Africa. Did we sell out that international maybe growth access in order to win on Africa? And do you think that hurts us even now when we speak about transfers and things like that?
I think when it comes to that, we are still developing, because I mean, I don't think we sold out. I think we and this is a topic, before I answer you, this is a topic I wanted to speak about. Even yesterday, I was thinking about this. There are teams like Super Sports and Vets, which are a core of our league. Maybe this must be a topic for another day.
Okay.
We mustn't lose the core of the league. You know, when you say the core of the league, if we lose Super Sports now, the Super Sports has been here for the past 15 to 20 years.
Ever since they are
structures. And they have good structures, including if Vet was 90-something years. So we lose those teams, we lose ourselves. So now we're going to be left with Sundowns, Pirates, and Chiefs. And then
they don't develop really.
Let's pack that aside. So if we say it if your question, you're saying we lost or we sold out on the South African way of playing. Yes, we did, because we lost our core. We lost Super Sports, we lost Vet, we lost Celtic. So we have to modernize whatever we have.
Okay.
Because if you look at our national team, it's basically comes from one team. Because we can, it's very difficult to take from Marumo Galans because we don't know what they're doing anyways. It's very difficult to take from Amazulu because you see the pool we have, it comes from two teams basically. It comes from Sundowns and Pirates. And then the rest, we don't know what they're doing. So I know you want to give another person a chance, but can we have a topic where we talk about losing our core of our league? We're losing the super sports now. We lost the Vets, we lost the Celtic, we lost the Swallows. Okay, those who are relegated. But if we lose the core of our league, then we lose our football altogether.
I've written it down. I'm going to make it a topic. Let me bring in Itu King Spoiler. Welcome. Itu.
Am I there?
Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, there we go. Itu, before you start, can you spoil AFCON for me? Who's going to win?
Why are you giving me such a big...
I'll give you King Spoiler.
I'll say Bafana Bafana will win it. With how we play, because we don't have a culture, we just playing, man. I just believe we just playing to win. That's the thing. And I'm still gonna give credit to Rulani. I don't wanna lie, guys. I'm giving it to Rulani because of Rulani. Today we can play 9 players of Sundowns because of Rulani. Bruce, when he came here, he came with these small boys. He didn't know what to do. He even wanted to resign. So thanks, Rulani, for giving us Sundowns. Today we are winning.
Mara, to be fair, Bruce has won AFCON. Yes. So do you not give him credit for knowing the landscape of African football, though?
No.
He's done something, though. Okay, yeah.
What did he do, man? Why don't you give Rulani our credit, guys? Today we are champions because of Rulani. Today we playing good football because of Rulani. I'm just saying it. This guy has no culture. This guy is not brave enough to change players because he still wants to stick with his Rulani boys. I had rumors that we had to play Morocco. He refused because he said his best players are not around. What does that mean?
But to be fair, isn't that what you need to do as the national team coach? Because you look at Vicente Del Bosque at Spain, you know, unprecedented run of winning things with Spain at a national team level. You could argue that Pep laid the foundation, or Pep was a big thing of that, but no other coach had done that. Even with Pep's foundation, even with Rulani's foundations that came from Mangoba, that came from Pitso, there was no national team coach that was able to do that. Doesn't Bruce get credit here?
He is brave to take 9 players of Sundowns. He was brave. That's what he did. He's brave.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a brave thing. No Super Sports, no Sundowns, no Kaizer Chiefs, no Pirates, just Sundowns. That's the only coach who was brave and just said, I'm taking one team, and that's it.
Mara, we've seen 8 seasons of Sundowns winning the league, and no other coach was able to take the Sundowns structure and success and bring it to the national team. Doesn't Bruce deserve credit?
He was brave. I'm out. I'm just saying he was brave. That's all. And he's still brave. He's still doing it even now. Thank you. I'm out.
No. Before you go, Ito, I want to ask you one question. Where do you sit on this conversation we're having about South Africa possibly not selling out, but you get me, folk choosing to go, you know what, guys, at some point we're trying to conquer the world, or at least compete with the world. And maybe the byproduct of that was that we're doing well in Africa. But then now, because we've changed our focus to Africa, maybe things are not working out in the world, even like with transfers or how we are seen as the footballing nation in the world and things like that. Do you think that we sold out in order to win the African game?
It's a hard one. It's a hard one. but I think we lost our culture, man. So it's really bo funk, the people that we used to play for us. It's hard, and we still need the legends who played overseas and advise us what to do. I think our legends are too absent for to help us in this moment. We need our legends to come back to suffer to help us. That's what I think. Yes.
Okay, let me bring in Open. Open, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oti.
Ngimnandi man. Open. Wingena kuphi le ndaba? Uyiqala kuphi?
Oh, addressing the issue, did we lose the core of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say yeah, we lost the core of the South African football. I mean, there are many factors coming to the issue of the coach. Maybe not understanding South African football. I mean, you're quite right, Nangenda Boguti, players wanting to adapt to international style of football. Yeah, obviously, but it has not done us any favors, for me. I've watched Bafana Bafana. It only performs when it tries to play local football, Yeah, I think the biggest issue would come to the physique of our players. You were speaking of Mufokeng. I think Mufokeng is very talented. I think the only issue maybe that they may look into would be his physique. International, they like those tall, strong African players. So physique yakhe may play big disadvantage kuye. Yeah, I think we did lose the equal. I think Hugo is trying to introduce taller players. Coming to consistency, I mean, looking at the CAF Cup, how South African teams lost.
Yeah.
You look at the Orlando Pirates, how it lost. It lost through set pieces, crosses from pyramids. How Sundowns lost. It lost through set pieces and whatsoever. Nonetheless, I think it's in the technique, man. You can have the tallest players, but if they do not have the heading technique and all of that, it doesn't help. So I've seen what he's tried the likes of Abumvala, but they do not have the technique. I mean, technique is everything. I watched even a game yesterday, Senegal and England. Senegal has those tall players and whatsoever, but England somehow was able to exploit it. They were quite unlucky not to level the scoring. It's all about the technique. Yeah, technique is more important than the.
Do we care
yeah.
about technique in the country? Are we doing enough about technique?
I don't think. No, we're not doing enough. I think it comes to issue when even if you watch at South African football, man, there you count. I mean, less than 50% maybe of our goal that come through set pieces. We're not that excellent with my set pieces. So I think even our defenders don't see the need to be that specific on in defending set pieces, because set pieces are, let's be honest, very poor. With PSL, they are taken very poor. So yeah, they do not struggle in set pieces because there's no magic with set pieces.
Okay. No, Open. Thank you so much for jumping in. Let me go to Umko. Umko, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hey, Oti, how are you? I'm well, man.
I'm good. Where do you want to jump in on?
I came in late and then I hear that you're speaking about the core of South African football. Yeah, and it got me thinking when I OT because I'm trying to understand what was our core exactly. Are we referring to the flair and only the talent that we had? I'm trying to understand exactly where that question comes from. Yeah, because when I look at South African football and obviously in comparison with the era of the Lucas Hadebes and Dr. Kumalos, I can't help but think that we have hugely improved, especially the last guy was speaking about technique, and I think it's one of the things that we have sort of improved on, because it used to be so much individual talent, so to speak, because I started watching football in that era. So it was more like individual talent than a team sport. But then when you go to Europe and South America, you would note that it was a team effort than individual talent. That is why I'm saying it seems as if we have improved from what we used to be, and there's still a lot that we can learn from Europe and the likes.
I have a theory. No, okay, no. Let me not ask you about the theory. I want to ask you about this idea of South Africans. Did we sell out our global view in order to look at Africa? And do you think that maybe has hurt us in our value in the world, if that makes sense?
Oof. I don't think South Africa has sold anything to the world that benefits Africa. I think we need to be honest. I think it's not us. I think it's the likes of Nigeria, the likes of Ghana, it's the likes of Senegal. We need to be honest, Otim. How many players in South Africa go straight from South Africa to go and play in one of the big leagues in Europe? You hardly see that. Go to Senegal, go to Nigeria, go to France. You'll find players that are able to get into some of the best teams in the world without any hard effort, so to speak. So I don't think we have a notable influence in terms of selling Africa in the entire world. But I would give it to Ghana, I would give it to Nigeria and Senegal, and maybe Morocco. Or lately, I feel like we're still getting there. You see, when you look at the likes of Rele and how they play, I still feel like the boy needs to go to Spain, but play for Espanyol or something, not even one of the big teams there. Because you still feel like there's so much that he needs to learn to become that complete player. And I think that's the thing with South African players. Even when you look at Percy Tau, when he left South Africa, he had to go and play in other countries before he can even be identified by the big team, one of the EPL teams in England. So that's the thing with us. It doesn't look like we are complete.
But Nko, how much of this is just branding? For example, I know what I'm going to go look for when I go to Senegal. I know what I'm going to go look for when I go to Nigeria. But when I look at South Africa, I'm not quite sure what it is, man, that I'm going to go fetch there. Is it something like that maybe also at a grand scale, we see our football a certain way, but the world looks at our football and goes, "Aye, guys,
oh yeah, I'm happy you say that. Look at the past 2 seasons, and let's focus solely on the Sundowns players. Let's focus on Mokwena. Let's focus on Kholiso Mudau, and let's focus on these Sundowns players and look at their physique and the way they are able to play. You can almost say like we are getting to that stage. Because I'm thinking if Khuluso Mudau was 22, I don't think Khuluso Mudau would be playing for Mamelodi Sundowns this season. I think the biggest issue with Khuluso Mudau not getting an offer overseas, it's the age, OT.
Yeah.
Right now. I actually believe it's the age. So what the likes of Sundowns, what Mamelodi Sundowns is doing to South African football, I think like there's a big shift that is happening, because I feel like a lot of players understand now that you have to be physically fit. You have to make sure that whenever you are doing.
Maramko, what is the South African player? And when I say that, you know, if you think about maybe the view of Europe, let's say we'll use Europe. You know, I think about Senegal, I think about Sadio Mane, and I think about certain other maybe Senegalese player. But was it Jibril Cisse? Was he Senegalese? Anyway, I think about all of those guys, and I go, okay, if I'm going to Senegal, I know that I'm gonna fetch this type of player. Who plays like this, who have maybe a grit or something. When I go to West Africa, maybe it's not necessarily the talent, it's it's for lack of a better word, it's grown men. It's men. I want to go fetch those guys and I'm going to bring them in. What is do we have that for South Africa? Because Khuluso Mudau is very different to Rile. It's very different to Mokwena. It's very different. You get what I mean? I don't know if that, because even back then, think about when our players were being exported a lot, you know. Sean Bartlett is similar to a Benny McCarthy in a way. It's similar to a Philemon Masinga, let's say. Like there's a pattern. Have we lost that, or are we just not doing it, or are we just not communicating that thing well?
Yeah, I think we're not. And again, if you, I'm happy you mentioning the likes of Senegal and so forth. If you look at Ghana, Ghana is known to produce the best midfielders. I don't know
Thomas
if you've noted.
Partey, Michael Essien.
Exactly. Suli Muntari, Michael Essien, Wado Asamoah. You remember? So those crop of players, you can tell that when they were going to Ghana, they made sure that they are going to get the best defensive midfielder or anyone who's going, like Thomas Partey, what he's doing now. So you are actually correct that we don't have that identity that we can use to represent ourselves as South Africa. That's why I'm saying it's almost like we had the flair, but it's like it wasn't interesting to Europe. It wasn't enough for Europe for them to come and say, look, let's go and look in South Africa.
Okay.
Maybe we need to develop much more on that.
Now, I always tell you guys, marketing is very important. But let me go to Usinje. CJ, showstopper.
Alala, how are you, champ?
I'm good, champ, man. Champ, where do you fit on this? Well, where do you want to jump in on this conversation?
Yeah, first of all, let me start with what is on top of you. You know, now I see that. I see what South Africa is playing against. I feel like we are like taxi drivers and high school girls. We are not we are not playing where we
Please
belong.
don't ban me. Please don't ban me, TikTok. Please don't ban me. Oh, Kosiap.
You know, we are not playing where we're supposed to be playing. Look at who are playing, and we are here putting that on our screen, and we are looking at it. But anyway, I am not going to. I'm serious. It's like, where are people of our own age? Why are you not playing against them? You know, other countries are playing against Canada, England, France. And today are busy playing Mozambique and Tanzania. Hey, unfair advantage, Mr. OT. Unfair advantage. But anyway, you know, guys, I hear your conversation, and I think I've said this on the show before. I watched Bafana Bafana, Dr. Kumalo, Helmut Mkelele's era. I watched them playing Germany. And I saw how the Germans did not know how to play against South Africa. Because of the type of football that South Africa. I watched them running around like headless chickens. Now, this was a Germany that was number 3 in the FIFA World Rankings back then. They were running like headless chickens against South Africa. And I ask myself, how do I feel as a European, as a German, watching number 3 team playing a 21-ish FIFA ranking Bafana Bafana, and we are playing like headless chicken, you know? And the best way and the style of football that is being played is a style that we cannot play against. So how do we make sure that this type of football does not enter into the world stage where it can expose us by labeling it as monkey football? Because we are in a position where you want to be where we are. So we control the narrative.
Okay.
So let's change how they play so that they can play our football. And by playing our football,
A Hong Kong version of our football.
who is going to be on the advantageous aspect of it? When we talk about coaching, even the linguistic of coaches, abo Katanaga, what is that? Is that Zulu?
Remember I asked this question, Tinch. Remember I asked this question.
Is that Zulu? Is that Sotho? Is that our own?
What is our version? Why doesn't it have a name?
Or is that we are going there and speaking football in a foreign language, and we want it to be expressed with our talent and our abilities and our physics and our understanding? Now, who is at the advantage when a South African coach is teaching Katanaga in South Africa? It is the inventors of Katanaga. Who is the inventors of the 7-1 split? Who is the inventors of the bomb squad? It's South Africans. And how was it established from the strong point of our players? And where in South Africa, what are we doing? We are doing the direct opposite.
Yeah.
We are forsaking our physique. We are not playing towards our physique and our style. And I hear you guys are speaking about these Nigerians and Senegal players going and making it overseas. Who does that benefit at the end of the day? How does Senegal benefit with their players playing abroad? What have they won when they play against the countries where the best players are playing in? When was the last time a Nigeria beat an England? When was the last time a Senegal beat a France? A Germany? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It doesn't benefit us as African footballs. And I see someone is mentioning Brazil. The reason why Brazil is now not the 5-time World Cup winning, it is because
sold
they
out.
have forsaken. They sold out themselves. So until, Mr. OT, until we learn to master our own and be selfish with our own talent, nurture our own talent, that is the only way we'll be able to
CJ, no. When we can go back and study our problems and solve our problems.
And master our own way of playing. Develop it to a let's cook umpokoko, let's cook ipapu to a cuisine. Because that's who we are. And here's the funny part about it, Mr. OT. Here's the funny part about it. As I was talking to my uncle about the difference between the UEFA Champions League and the AFCON or the CAF, whatever the Sundowns and Pyramid was playing. And he was saying that, and I'm like, oh, this thing is empty. And he was like, no, the reason why is because and I thought about what you said. He said, Champions League, the final Champions League, carry much weight bigger than the teams that are playing. So Champions League final, the name Champions League final,
It's an event.
bigger than Barcelona. It's bigger than Madrid. It's bigger than Bayern Munich. It's bigger than whatever, Chelsea. Here, the word CAF Champions final means nothing. That word means nothing. It carries no weight. It carries no follow. It carries no marketing. It's a privilege for PSG to be playing a final. It's a privilege for them to get there. Here, in order for us, it's a privilege for Chiefs to be in the final. In fact, when Chiefs is in the final, Motsepe is smiling because, wow, marketing, people are going to watch it. And how do we market those things? How do we market Africa? How do we market African football? For it in its entity to be as globally recognized, not depending on teams that have millions of followers in order for it to be a thing.
But you start internally. You start internally. You don't start outside. I've been saying this for a long time. Europe doesn't care about the CAF Champions League. They don't need to care. They don't want to care. They care about their competition. You know, we care. And I like what you mentioned about the football back then. I think there was a purity to football when we came out of apartheid. There was a purity to it. And there was a seclusion to it. You know, we grew up loving, and I might date you here for your age, but we grew up loving the PSL. Why? It's the only thing you could watch.
It's
the only thing. You know, I know everything about the early 2000s. If you hear me speak, I know everything about the early 2000s because it's all you could watch. There was a purity to it. But the moment you started opening up and receiving those messages, and I say receiving because you know how much money UEFA spends on marketing across the world?
A lot.
The marketing budget is insane. And they do it to tell us. They tell you that the Champions League is hot. They're the ones that tell you. And we receive it and we say it's hot. Remember the Euros. Sorry, I'm going to let you finish, but remember the Euros. We sat here and said the Euros was the most boring tournament that we had sat down and watched. It wasn't at any level that we thought the levels were, right? But we were told that no, AFCON is worse.
And this nonsense of the Jamie Carragher has a nerve to say that the AFCON is a small tournament versus that nonsensical football they forced us to watch. In fact, they didn't even finish. I think so. The way it was so boring. There's no culture, and I think with Bafana Bafana, you know, I watched the under-17s. I watched them, and I watched the under-20, you know, and I look at how these boys, and I wish we could carry these boys, you know. I wish there could be a bridge where these boys can be nurtured into the Bafana Bafana. Else, do you know how much nurturing does it take for a player to be a Springbok?
Yes.
Do you know how many programs?
The whole community.
Do you realize how I was like, and I looked at Rassi saying, we've been tracing this young boy since under 13.
Since he was 12, yes.
And I was like, under 13. He says, no, he was a private that is going to lead to Springboks from under 13.
Yes.
Now we wait for him to be in the DDC.
No, we wait for him to be in the DDC. We don't know who was coaching him up to DDC. We don't know what he was doing.
We don't know which program he was under. We don't know
where did he come from. Yeah.
We don't. Then we expect him to give my father. And the guy was explaining what does it mean to be a Springbok, from the contract to the playing to the fame. to how it go, and I realized, hey man, this is not a overnight success.
Yeah.
This takes years.
Yeah.
This takes amount of influence,
Takes work.
practice. It's work, bro. It is work. And I'm like, yo, as Bafana Bafana, if this is what it takes to get to be a world champ, we have to be on this level to be a world champ. My dreams of seeing Bafana Bafana in the World Cup final, I think I will die without seeing it.
No, CJ. For time I'm gonna jump in, guys. I think I'm gonna make this a proper. I'm gonna make this a proper conversation. I wanna make this a proper 2-hour conversation, guys. I'm gonna jump in. I just wanted to say this. Outside of Sinja's points, I think we're lying to ourselves a little bit about Bafana Bafana, about the country. And I believe that in the country, there were 2 separate systems that have been running since post-apartheid, just after apartheid. And those 2 separate systems are maybe now sort of merging and we're seeing problems. I'll explain what I mean. If you notice, the players that made it overseas, your Pennies, your Pinars, your Quinton Fortunes, and all of those guys, firstly, Cape Town, Western Cape, firstly, number 1. But number 2, they never played for the big teams. And I genuinely believe, Bochomo were in exporting. I genuinely believe, honestly speaking, that we had a group of clubs that were dedicated to selling players overseas. Cape Town Spares, Jomo, all of those guys. They were selling those guys very early and moving them on overseas very quickly. Whereas, then there's the other system that creates local superstars. Udokta, for all intents and purposes, was a local star. The guys that we know from Kaizer Chiefs and Pirates and whatever very rarely went overseas. And I feel like it was 2 separate systems that were working. There's a reason why Chandra Campbell can go from Supersport straight that side. Whereas you look at Abu Chiefs, Abu Pirates, they struggle to even sell players at times. But they become super big stars here. And I think the bulk of what was happening with the people going overseas was this system that was, sadly, it was this system that was stopping these players from going into the South African system, quote unquote, so that they could go overseas quicker. And I'll use the example of like a Relay right now. I think Relay is at a tough spot where he should be gone by now. But is he more of a local star than he is an overseas star? And then what changed, I believe, what changed is that those teams either died, Abochomo, or not died, but Abochomo fell down, but those teams started finding it easier to sell players to Bo Chiefs, Bo Pirates, Bo Sundowns. And it killed that overseas connection that we had. So that's why I'm like, I think that's what's happening here, that teams like Sundowns have made it easier. We had this conversation a couple of weeks ago where they made it easier for me to just go, and Tate Motsepe ke a player, than to do the work. When Gavin Hunt explains how Bongani Khumalo made it that side, it's like we were on a Tottenham thing, we had a Tottenham relationship and that we had nurtured, and that relationship, he mentioned Bongani Khumalo just in passing to one of the coaches that side, and they were looking for a center back. He happened to be there. Those are relationships that maybe we don't have right now. And then on to Sinja's point, I've said this all the time. I've said this, you guys know, the guys who watch this show regularly. I know what a catenaccio is, but I cannot explain to you 10 South African concepts of what South African football is. What is our version of catenaccio? Everybody points to the one book by Ted Dimitri, Maximalist Training. But even in that one, we don't know what our football is. Like if I ask anybody here, what makes a South African 10 a 10? We're going to get 10 different answers. Whereas that side, they've come in and they've gone, okay, we need to really refine this thing. What makes us us? What makes us tick? What makes this player better? Why are South Africans good technically? What is the system that South African players use? And I go back to the purity conversation we're having with Sinje right now. All of us grew up with 4-4-2. If you ask any old person, let's say from the 90s, if kind of we're old now. If you ask anybody, let's say over 30, eyes closed, what is a South African system? We will all say 4-4-2. You'll have a 4 and a 5. You'll have a 3 and a 2. In the middle, you've got a destroyer and a distributor. Then you've got a 7 and an 11. U9 uyenza so. This are, all of us knew it, all the way down. All of us. Similar to now, when you look at Spain and you look at some of the players, a lot of it is similar. It goes down because they've gone and they've studied this thing and actually brought it back into the thing. Do you know what's nice? Like we spoke about rugby now. Rugby has those type of things. Aborasi and the thinkers and all of those guys, they come up with things, they study them, they put them together, then they influence them back into the rugby. Now, Tina, in football, because we're so scattered, omunye ufuna ukudlala 3-4-1-2, omunye ufuna ukinverta ama left back, omunye ufuna ukudlala 4-4-2, another one wants to do this, another wants to do that, another wants to do that. And if you look at the countries that struggle around the world, it's those countries where they don't have a binding principle to their football. So it's work. It is work. It is research. It is compiling. It is money. It's not a joke. Like what Sinje was talking about here is not a joke, guys. In rugby, 12 years old, when you whether you're playing high school, whether you're playing whatever, I use the example, you sign a slip, you write a slip. I played rugby briefly in high school. You sign a slip that goes to your closest governing region, or I forgot what they call them. And from that point on, you are tracked. Whether you are good, whether you are bad, whether you're excellent, whether you're trash, whether you've played one game, whether you've played 20, you are tracked. And there's a filing system that looks out for each and every one of these players. It's work, guys. It's work. It's organization, it's structure. I always make jokes. Go to a high school game anywhere in the country at rugby. Just pitch, just go and walk in. And you'll probably see a branded car somewhere, all the way down. They make sure that the coaching is up to scratch. They make sure that yeah, guys, it's work, that thing. And I think that we had it by virtue of being closed off. But once everything opened, we don't have the structures to reel everything in. And that is some of the problems that we have with our football and why we're seeing it leak all over the place. But I'm going to make this a proper topic because I think there's a lot of meat that we can chew here. There's a lot of content that we can get from this and conversations we can have from this. So I'm going to make this a proper conversation. I'll make it a topic one of these days. But anyway, guys, shout out to Bafana Bafana, still on the unbeaten run. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you to those that jumped into the panels, the guys who were commenting. Thank you guys for joining and supporting. Remember, I always leave with this, guys. We're content creators. So if you ever see on my page something you brand, anything that's branded, please, thank you for the messages you guys send me to say well done. But can you please also interact with the video, watch the videos, even if you watch it 100, 1,000 times or whatever, just watch it on repeat, comment, like, share, do all of those things, because that's how then we go out and prove to brands that, guys, we've got an audience. Can you please pay me? Then I don't have to be coming out and asking people for money on this side. So, guys, please, 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 please support. The numbers are very important. So if you see anything that's brand related on my page, interact with it. And you know it's quality because it's coming from me. But guys, Thank you so much for joining me. We will be back on Friday. I'll be back on Friday at 7. Where we'll discuss. Friday. Yeah, I'll be back on Friday at 7, where we'll discuss another topic. I might just bring this topic into Friday, and we'll have a deeper discussion here. But for time's sake, I have to go. Thank you guys so much for joining me. There's an episode of 3-Man Press. Myself, Lindo Pep, and Kalefang. We brought in Coach Picasso for this episode. Please check it out. Support 3-Man Press, and please follow on all of the platforms, guys. Gunzima lapa Instagram, and these brands love Instagram. So if you could just do me the favor, going over to Overthinking Football Show on Instagram and following. Guys. But guys, thank you so much. I'll see you then on Friday. Bye, everyone.